Hello, I'm Joseph Emanuele from your Costa Rican Connection. Today we're here in Playa del Coco at PSC Attorneys, and I'd like to introduce to you Priscilla Solana Castillo. Priscilla is a PhD of law here in Costa Rica and one of the trusted advisors I recommend that my clients or any client who's looking to purchase property in Costa Rica should definitely contact. Hi Priscilla, how are you doing today?
Fine. Thank you very much for coming and welcome to PSC again.
So, shall we get started and go right into it?
My pleasure.
Okay. The first question I have is just what are a few of the important things a investor or a retiree should consider knowing when buying property here in Costa Rica?
Okay, first of all, it's Costa Rica. It's the best country ever. I mean,
Amen.
there's nowhere in the world you can find a system that has 100 years of full democracy, no military, no nothing. All the funds of the government are shared with a health system and scholarship for kids. So that's one of the main things. We got the best social system. We got an economic that is very stable. So talking about having a good way of life, I would say that that's the main thing. Now legally, it's a lot of things can be said. Number one is that a foreigner have the same rights as a Costa Rican by the Constitution of Costa Rica. We have entities that are called corporations, and you can buy through the corporations. That way, I always say it's like the best way of having a double citizenship and being like the Holy Spirit, because you can be everywhere in the world and in Costa Rica at the same time.
At the same time.
So that's like wonderful. It's a super great tool. It gives you a lot of flexibility.
And it adds a little bit of liability protection as well if an owner has their property within a Costa Rican corporation. Is that correct?
100%, because having a corporation is being another person.
Exactly.
So I could be Priscilla Solano Castillo, or I could be Priscilla Solano Limited Liability Corporation, and even I sign on behalf of both. I'm two separate persons, so the liability has the ending of the liability is where the assets end of the corporation, and that have nothing to do with me personally.
That's great. That's a great way to own assets.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're a foreigner and you live outside of Costa Rica and you plan on maybe having an investment property here in Costa Rica, you're taking away the liabilities that could happen in North America, say, if something was to happen there, they cannot attach to your Costa Rican property because it's owned by a Costa Rican corporation.
Exactly.
Fantastic.
That's number one or number three in the whole state of the arts right now. But also, gives you the benefit of having a very safe investment. Like there's no way the government's going to take it away because it's a democratic government again. Number one. Number two, the titles are 100% safe because we have a one registry system that registers all the properties of the whole country.
Correct me if I'm wrong, it's the Registro Nacional.
Registro Nacional. Very good, Joe. You're having a great pronunciation.
I'm practicing my Spanish. Thank you.
Great. So it's very safe. The other thing is that you don't even have to come to Costa Rica to purchase. You can do it by a corporation. You just send us a power of attorney and we'll do everything for you. The funds will be super protected because they go through an escrow agent.
Right.
That it's a third party, that it's impartial. So
Right.
they will disperse the amounts to all the parties involved in the deal. And so you can come and just get right there, walk into your house, have a glass of wine, and enjoy Costa Rica.
Fantastic. I love it. I love it. Let me ask you two more questions. Can you give me a short answer about the difference between a fully titled property and one that might be held in a share of a corporation?
Okay, a fully titled property is this piece of land that you just buy, and it's got a title, and it's got what we have, a folio real.
Okay.
Folio real means that it's a number that the government gives to every single property. The same way they give us an ID as a person, they give it to a property. So you buy the whole property, there's no restrictions, you can put liens, you can have a mortgage, you can put an annotation, you can build condos, you can build a house, whatever you want.
So it's basically a titled property is fee simple, just like in North America,
Same
Canada, and the U.S.
Exactly. You go, you buy it, and it's yours. You can do whatever you want. Of course, there are going to be some restrictions that the municipality will tell you,
Of
but
course.
as everywhere in the world.
As everywhere.
Now, the difference between a share is that when you buy a share, is that you're buying a portion of the assets that a corporation has.
Okay.
So a corporation can have a property, a boat, a car, and a bank account. So you're buying one share of the bank account, the boat, the property, or the car.
So some condos that were built a few years back here were actually set up as a corporation with shares for each individual unit. Are those shares easy to transfer back and forth if I wanted to sell it, say, after I had purchased one?
Yes, it's very easy to transfer. Here, the other super great benefit about Costa Rica is that the shareholders are absolutely confidential. Nobody knows except the shareholder and whoever holds the books, who's the owner of the shareholder. So it's a matter of endorsing the shares, and that's it. That's how you transfer a share. It's just endorsing a piece of paper that we call a share or a quote,
Okay.
and sign a book. And that's it. Now, what's the difference? What is the only restriction that you may have? Is that when you buy a share, you cannot have full rights over the whole assets. You just have a portion of the rights and a portion of the liability, of course, right?
Of course.
So if you want to have a mortgage over the property, you have to ask 100% of the shareholders to agree with you. So that's the only restriction, is that you cannot fully dispose regarding the property.
So the share basically gives you 100% rights to use that specific unit to your full enjoyment.
Full enjoyment with the restrictions of annotation, dashes, or whatever,
And
right?
exactly, whatever the CC&Rs, the conditions, covenants, restrictions of the association may be.
Exactly.
Okay, good. That was great information, Priscilla. I'm gonna ask you another question. If a property is held in shares, is that a risky proposition, or is it okay to buy a share of a corporation that holds property?
It depends on what you really want as a buyer.
Okay.
It's not risky as for it's legal, and the only thing is that you need to make a special due diligence that it's more than the usual due diligence that you would do if you just purchase a land.
Okay.
So in this case, you have to check the corporation, you gotta check the legal books, make sure that you have a general assembly done every year, that the corporate taxes are paid yearly, that the stamps, legal stamp and culture stamps are paid every year also. That the legal representative is somebody that it's entitled to sell without restrictions.
Okay.
So once you check all of that and you understand that you're not buying the condo or what you think it's a condo, but you're buying a share, which is a portion of the whole corporation, then you're fine. The restrictions that you may have is that, for example, if you want to put a mortgage into it, you need the 100% of the shareholders to agree.
Okay.
And that's the key point. When you buy a share, you want the bylaws to be very restricted so that no one have power of attorney by themselves just for being a shareholder, so that you need 100% approval of everybody. That way you make sure nobody's going to assume more responsibilities, your liability is lower, and your responsibilities are lower too.
Good, that reminds me very much of what's called a co-op
Yeah.
in New York City. When you buy an apartment in a 70-story tower, you buy a share in the co-op, and that share gives you the rights to that unit, and then there's an administrator or one person in charge over the whole thing. So that makes a lot of sense. So it's a pretty good process as well. The most important question, I think, and I think about this because of my age, okay?
Oh, come on.
Well, it's true. I think is it important for a foreigner who owns property here in Costa Rica to get a Costa Rican will for the
Yes.
assets they own?
It's not important for a foreigner, it's important for everybody that have any assets.
So the
wherever in the
probate
world.
here is just as tough as it is in North America.
As it isn't anywhere else. I
Okay.
mean, first of all, you're not here anymore. So, I mean, that's the first problem you have. You have no say.
You have no say anymore.
No
You're
say.
done, you're toast.
You're done. Number one. Number two is like other people that are dealing with the loss and with that, the suffer of that, have to also deal with the probation. It's very hard, it's complicated, it's in Spanish, it's in a foreign country. You don't know if the people that are going to be the beneficiaries are here in Costa Rica or have been in Costa Rica. So it's really a hassle culturally, legally, and a language barrier also.
Of course.
So if you have a will, it's just very easy because the judge knows and everybody knows that once you're done, you passed away, then the assets are split the way that you really want them to be split. There's nothing to be said, there's nothing to be validated or argued about. It's just that way it is. The other option is to make a living trust.
Okay.
That way you transfer the assets into a trust, and the trust will transfer the assets as you want whenever the time comes. That's another option. It's a little bit more expensive, but if you ask me, it's much better than the will, because it's much more faster and we really avoid court 100%.
So, okay, and who doesn't want to avoid court? I mean, plain and simple. Great, terrific. Priscilla, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk about some key points of real estate and ownership here in Costa Rica. And go ahead and tell everybody who you are and how to contact you.
Okay, well, again, my name is Priscilla Solano Castillo. I've been an attorney for more than 16 years already. I specialize in real estate law, condominium law, civil law, commercial law. I don't go to court. I do not litigate, so don't look for me for trouble. I won't be there. And you can contact me here in Playa del Coco. My email address is psolano@pscattorneys.com, and you can call me at 506-2670-1855. You can also just look at the webpage www.pscattorneys.com and check for our advice. And we're here across the street from Banco Nacional, Main Street of Coco. We've been here for more than 7 years and we're not going anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.